What if there was a marketing strategy that very few MSPs use but could make you unbeatable? What if the strategy could be implemented in just a few hours a week and not only brings you in new business, but makes hundreds of people genuinely think that you are the nicest person in IT? My special guest today has a unique way of looking at marketing and how you can use human relationships as a powerful marketing weapon.
I'm Devin Sizemore. I am the super connector who helps you become a super connector.
Oh, what a great intro. Welcome to the show, Devin. It's great to have you here. And we are going to talk about building super connections for your MSP. And I'm going to have to start by asking you, Devin, what is a super connection?
Yeah, so in the world of networking, we're always so focused on chasing prospects, right? We have to generate revenue. And so often that's where we focus. I like to flip that on its head and go, let's build strategic connections that open up opportunities to lots of prospects. And so we go about networking different. It actually makes it easier for you. You'll get more out of your current network. You'll build a much bigger and successful future network. And at some point, you in your own network will become the connector. And the connector is the person who knows everybody. And so a great outcome of the whole system and process, not only is revenue generation, filling meetings, all these other things, is you become the go-to for everyone in your network.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we're going to park that for just 2 minutes and we're going to come back to that idea in a second and look at what the benefits are of being a super connector and then how you actually do it. Let's just delve a little bit more into your background. So what in the past, what have you done that's got you to this position of advising MSPs and other kinds of businesses how they can be super connectors?
Yeah, so I'm a serial entrepreneur, as some of your listeners maybe too. I had a marketing agency straight out of college, bought some agencies and sold. Had a cat cafe, a manufacturing company, a co-working space. And in all of these spaces, what I found is I kept finding myself in crowded marketplaces where I was presented with a bunch of traditional marketing strategies that do work, right? When fully optimized, tracked correctly, they work. But I wanted to find a way to be unique, and I wanted to be the authority in rooms where none of my competition was playing. And that led me down the path 15 years ago to start building the foundation for the connection expansion system, which exists today. And so how do we strategically get into these rooms so that you're not competing?
What's a cat cafe?
Great question. Yeah, so a cat cafe, I like to relate it to trampoline parks. People can usually think about that. So the cat cafe, you pay per hour to come hang out with the cats. It's great for people who have allergy issues with their spouse, but they still want to be around animals, senior citizens who can't have cats, college kids who can't have animals. So they can come and hang out with them. There's no pressure to adopt, although that's part of it. So it's a business my wife and I launched, and then we sold it to an employee after 6 months. So super fun project, very random, but cool business.
Well, I've had a number of cats over the years, and my experience of cats is that they're quite aloof. And you know, if you're sitting giving them attention, then they'll turn their back on you. So I can imagine your cat cafe is full of cats ignoring the humans, which is the main reason the humans are there. But hey, there we go. Maybe someone should open a dog cafe one day, and you just have all these dogs just adoring you, waiting for food. That could be your next venture there, Devin. Now, you said something really smart about 40, 50 seconds ago. You said, I want to be the only, what was it? You said something about rooms. I want to be the only person in the room talking to someone. Can you say it again? You said it much better than I do.
Yeah, so I want to be the authority in a room where none of my competition's playing.
I love that. So I want to be the authority in a room where none of my competition is. So what does that actually mean? I can grasp the concept of that, but in a real world, what does that mean? Does that mean being in a networking group where there's no other MSPs, or does that mean dominating? No, okay, you're shaking your head. So tell me what that kind of thing means.
Yeah, let's do it, and let's go real specific for your listeners, right? So in the MSP world, let's say that you want to go after accounting firms. Let's say that that's a great niche for you. There's a lot of data there, typically a lot of machines. So maybe that's a world you want to play and you just want to go after accounting. You can do the same thing, medical, pick a vertical, it doesn't matter. But let's say accounting. The traditional method is you ask for, hey, I'm looking for accounting firms, CPA firms, bookkeepers, whatever it is. Ideally, they've got half a dozen employees because we want enough machines for it to make sense. Great. That's the go after the client method, right? And so that's not going to get you in a room. What will get you in a room is looking at where do accounting firms gather? Where do they seek education? What kind of continuing education do they have to get? Well, they have to have credentials that are renewed, right? So now we can start looking at associations. We can look at consultants that coach accounting firms. We can look at software providers that only service those people. We can look at vendors that sell to them. Now, if we could find one consultant who coaches accounting firms on how to scale and grow their practice, and we could become the partner with them, where now we're at their event, we're the only MSP in the room, and they're saying like, man, these are the best. They're the most responsive, the most uptime, the most up to date on current industry trends. And now you're at this event being advocated and edified by the event host with no competition in the room. You are literally in a room full of ideal clients being edified and positioned to succeed. But you can't just fall into the room. You want to network your way into that room so that the edification is very real. And this is a very organic promotion.
I love that. That is one of the smartest things that I've heard today. I absolutely adore that, and it makes perfect sense. And of course, if you're in that situation and you're an expert or you're a perceived expert at the managed services for that particular industry or whoever you're talking to, you can expect to charge more as well, because that's one of the side benefits of being perceived as an expert and a specialist, is the ability to charge more. You have run something called the Connection Expansion System. Tell us how what you've just been talking about there fits into that system, and what else is part of that.
Yeah, so the Connection Expansion System is the full system. So it will serve you from a very first touch networking meeting all the way through how you nurture your database and relationships long term, and everything in between. So the email scripts you send after meeting someone, how we book meetings, how you run a meeting, a connection meeting, not a sales meeting, how we follow up from that, how we add value, and then how we nurture the network to generate the results we're looking for, which is more connections, right? If you're listening and you're going, man, you know what? I love word of mouth business and I love referrals. Great, right? Check the first box. Second, if you're going, man, that's unpredictable though, and I would like to bring some predictability to that side of my business. Okay, check that box. The next thing is, are you willing to nurture relationships long term so we can get ongoing connections to unlock those bigger rooms? That's the system, right? And so it's all the language, it's how we shift our ask, and then it's how we follow up others focused and drive value to our network so that our network can then provide the value we're looking for.
That makes perfect sense. There's a ton of work there. I mean, what you've reeled off in a couple of sentences sounds like years worth of work. So for any MSP watching this on YouTube, listening to this on the podcast, where's a good place to get started? And give us some small things that you can do to start going down that route.
Yeah, so a quick action exercise. There's two. I'm going to give you both. So the first exercise is to change your ask. This will dramatically get more results out of your current network and the meetings you're already doing. So again, most of the time the ask is your ideal client profile is what you're asking for. We want to switch that to the things that have access to our ideal clients, just like in the accounting example. But if we go to medical, it'd be the same thing, right? I'm looking for coaches and consultants who help medical practices scale and grow. That becomes your ask. Now, what happens is, instead of someone having a hard time referring you, because when I refer you, I'm teeing you up to sell someone, which creates friction. I'm now looking in my database going, man, you know what? I know 2 or 3 people who play in this medical world as consultants or service providers. Let me connect you to them. And now you guys can have a strategic conversation. The ability to book a meeting, super easy. The leverage, way more impactful, and you're going to get way more out of that. So that's the first thing, shift your ask. Stop asking for just clients and focus on these bigger asks. The second thing is, let's use what you have. I'm going to guarantee you already have a network. Your network might be 3 people or it might be hundreds, right? But you're probably successful. You probably have a database of some people. Let's just get into meetings with those people. You can send a check-in email, which everyone in my database gets. It sounds like this. Hey, Bob, I hope you're doing well and having a great day. It's been a while since we last connected. Anything new and exciting in your world? Any new challenges? Hey, I'd love to schedule a time to catch up with you so that I can realign on what kind of connections and value I can add to your world. Here's a link to my calendar. I look forward to catching up. We then are driving our network back into these conversations. And in those meetings, we're focused on looking for ways to add value and re-engage this person, not sell this person, right? Build real relationships, because when we're in that room building real relationships, that's where we find all these opportunities that right now you don't know exist in your network.
Can I do a cynical British thing, right? And maybe this is just a British thing. And I'm conscious we have listeners and viewers all over the world. But if I got an email like that from someone that says, hey, let's reconnect and jump on a call to talk about, again, whatever it was you just said, much more succinctly than I can, my arms fold at that point, right? And my cynicism thinks, you're just trying to sell me something. It seems like, even though everything you've talked about here is about being authentic and authentically helping people, and the more you help them, the more help they give you, that comes across as an inauthentic thing. So tell me I'm wrong, and tell me that actually it works, and you know it works because you do it and you get results from it.
Yeah. So when you're first starting, there will be tension in your network because it's going to feel new to your network. That's very normal. We don't need everyone to engage. And in fact, even if they respond with some sort of thing saying, well, what are you trying to sell, or what's your real motive? You've done what you're trying to do, which is create a conversation. Now, how you handle that conversation, for sure. And this happens. I still get it in my own network sometimes where people will be like, hey, why are we getting together? What are you trying to sell? What's your motive? And then I just reiterate, like, my motive is literally just to catch up, figure out what your priority is right now, because I'm doing a ton of networking and I want to make sure that I refer the right people to you. And that typically will get someone to be like, okay, fine. Like, I'll get on a 30-minute call and we can chat. And then when you get on that call, you cannot sell. Like, you have to get on the call and ask genuine questions. And what happens over time is your network wants to get on your calendar because you're adding value, you're making connections, you're focused on them. And so for me, 36 inbound connections last month, that's 36 new people that are positioned to me, edified to me, just because of my own network and the meetings I'm doing. I also know I'm going to get a 30% response rate. So when I send those check-in emails, 30% of people in any check-in are going to reply. Some will take meetings. Some will just say, hey, Devin, yeah, thanks for checking in. Hey, here's a link to what I'm promoting right now. And that's all they have time for. Great. Again, at least we're top of mind, and this dead network that we have is starting to do something.
Yeah, I mean, a 30% response rate, that's crazy, as in crazy good. Surely let me turn this into a question. Is it overwhelming for you? So if you've got 36 people and you manage to book 12 meetings, right? So suddenly you've just filled 6 hours of your life, plus the prep, plus the notes, and then you've suddenly got all of these connections and all of these things that people are looking to do. Is that overwhelming, or is it very much part of your system just to sort of file that away until you get opportunities to connect people and help them add value?
Yeah, so you can do this system on a spreadsheet and it can work, and you can do it at a small volume that way, right? Obviously, the volume I do it at is another level, right? So 52 new meetings last month, 120-ish connections sent out last month. Again, the 30 plus inbound. So obviously I'm doing it at a rate that's much bigger, but my system's built to support that. And so I recommend connection meetings. If you're doing virtual, can be 30 minutes. They don't need to be an hour. If you're doing them in person, they need to be an hour because you need the time for ordering the coffee, finding the table, doing the stuff. The follow-up, I buffer the time right after. You need about 15 minutes of follow-up after a meeting to send 2 to 3 connections and send a recap email. And then you need a task management system where you can assign a task that says, hey, I'm going to check in with you in 3 weeks to see how those connections were. I'm going to check in with you 6 weeks after that to nurture the relationship and send the check-in. Really, that's all of your time commitment. The rest is on your network opening doors for you and you just putting them on your calendar. So yes, right? Like, your time will be a constraint in this process. But if you want the outcome, this is a great marketing strategy to shift how you're building your network and to tap into, again, that untapped value that I know exists in your network.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And look, Devin, I need to give you kind of an apology because in 5 years of doing this podcast, I think those are the most cynical follow-up questions that I've ever asked anyone that I've ever had on the show. But you handled them brilliantly, so thank you very much. Let's finish off with one final question. What do you actually do to help MSPs implement a system like this? And how can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, first, thank you. I love the challenging questions because this is not the normal conversation. And so you should be skeptical and you should be asking those questions. And I would expect nothing less. And so I love that. And hopefully I was able to provide some value there. So 2 ways to connect with me. First, one, grab a copy of the book. So Connection Expansion's out there. The whole system is in here, all the scripts. I don't hold anything back. It's value packed. It's on Amazon. And no matter what country you're in, you can grab it, paperback, hardcover, or audiobook. DevinSizemore.com, DevinSizemore.com. All my stuff's on there. Ton more value and content. My biggest way that I'm helping people right now is I run a connection group. And if anything we said today, you said, you know what, I want to lean in a little and I want to build my network, especially outside my market. I want to go after some verticals or some new markets. Just come hang out with us and let's build our networks together. And over time, you'll start to learn all the different pieces for the system, and then you can really capitalize on it.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.